Good Tuesday morning, Mount Olive Church family, friends, everybody joining us for another week of devotions. Continuing on with the I Believe series that the pastor has been on here lately, and going to Acts chapter 16 this week. And you can see I've got on the screen here the point I want to bring across today. So I've already got this question on here. How will you respond? And so, I hope you got to watch Sunday and you seen the skit that the mission team done. They done a great job with that. I'm sure the villages in Nicaragua absolutely love that. They always love our skits, and I'm sure they done a wonderful job with that one while they were there. But they showed Paul and Silas in prison. And Monday's devotion, pastor went through kind of leading up, giving the background of what had been going on and the reason that they come after them, the reason they had beat them, and they'd ended up in prison. And he talked about just how the place that they were in was, it was impossible for man to get out of that, but not impossible for God to bring it forth. And he did with the earthquake. But during point number one in the sermon Sunday, pastor talked about coming across difficulties. We're all going to face difficulties and opposition and different circumstances and those things. But he asked the question after that of how will you respond? And we see here their response. Let's look at Paul and Silas here in Acts 16, verse 25. After they're thrown into prison, and they're in stocks and chains. There's no getting out. I can tell you right now, if that's Jody, I'm losing a lot of hope and really quick, really fast, probably like a lot of you all, right? So, but they'd faced this bad opposition, this bad circumstance. And it says, at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed, and they sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. If you remember back from the skit, Hannah and Danny, they sang the song while they were, holding the prison bars. And, it's easy for us to say that sometimes, right? But hard to do when we get in those situations. And sometimes we face some really big opposition, and whether you've been saved for, 1 year or 50, we go through some trying times sometimes. And how do we respond to that? So I got to thinking, and one of the greatest stories that I think a lot of us are familiar with in the Bible is David and Goliath, right? If you've been in church much, you think of this story and you're taught it even from a kid. But, there was two different responses here. When you look at Goliath coming on the scene, there was two really total opposite responses. And I want to look at those here real quick for a devotion today. And in 1 Samuel 17:10, it says, the Philistine, and that's Goliath, said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, it says they were dismayed and they were greatly afraid. You go on down there and it says, when you go read that, and you'll see that he come day after day after day, and every day he's coming and he's calling them out. This Goliath, this giant, this Philistine, he's standing on the other side of the stream there, and he's like, send me a man. Come on over. I'm defying the armies of God today. All the armies of Israel, send you a man. Let's fight. And they were all dismayed and greatly afraid. And it says he done it. And in verse 24, it says, all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, just seeing him and hearing what he said, it says they fled from him and they were sore afraid. That is the majority of our responses sometimes when tough circumstances hit. Okay, so I want to show you two different things here. Here's all these great men and these armies of Israel, and they've got this guy, and he's calling them out, and they're all afraid. They're every day when they see him, they're afraid. They flee from him. But then along comes this little boy down in verse 37. And it actually is before this that he shows up. And David comes, and, his brother says, I know the naughtiness of your heart. I know why you're here, and you've come to see the battle. And, and David asks, who is this man? And what'll happen to the man that fights him? The person that defeats him, what do they get? And David hears him calling out God and armies of Israel. And David says, is there not a cause? You know, he says, there's a reason to stand up here. And all these men, all these people in this army, they were scared to death. A lot of times the same way we are. But look at this young man. You want a response that we need today to our bad circumstances, to when we get overwhelmed, when we face opposition. David is your answer. Verse 37, David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear. So he tells them a story. I was keeping my father's sheep. There was a lion came. There was a bear came. They come to get one of the lambs. And when he did, I took it back. I defeated him. I fought a lion and I fought a bear. And he tells them that story. And he says, the Lord that delivered me out of that lion, the paw of that lion, the paw of that bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. I don't know who needs to hear this today. I don't know what you're going through or what opposition you are facing today, but I am here to tell you, you sing praises and you pray in the middle of your stocks and your bonds, because God will do it again. The same God that has brought you through to wherever you're at today, all the times that you faced opposition before, stop for just a moment and think, this is not the first time you've been here. This is not the first time you faced hard times. This is not the first time that you felt like you were in stocks and bonds. God brought you out before. You sing praises today and watch God bring you out again. God will do it again. Okay, I hope you guys got something from that. Remember that I love you and I'm praying for you and you pray for me. God bless.